Good afternoon. This is Richard McClory from the Golden Gate Blues Society, and I've got Jan Fanucci and Steve Freund with me. The Golden Gate Blues Society presents Steve Freund and Jan Fanucci in an online event Thursday, June 24th at 5 p.m. They'll be streaming live, hosted by Piedmont Piano's The Showroom Sessions. So to see the show, you go to Piedmont Piano's Facebook page, Thursday, June 24th at 5 p.m. And the donation sites are paypal.me, TGGBS, and Venmo at TGGBS. They'll be on the screen. So welcome and thank you very much. It's a real honor to host you in a short interview, Steve Freund and Jan Fanucci.
Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, glad to be here.
That's great. We're really looking forward to this upcoming show. It's maybe winding down the COVID-19
right?
video series that we've been doing. We've done about 8 or 9 of these. So I'll just say guitarist Steve Freund, who for many years backed Chicago blues legends Hubert Sumlin, Otis Rush, Coco Taylor, Sunnyland Slim, and many others, continues his career here in the Bay Area. And vocalist Jan Fanucci, Bay Area Music Award winner, has been compared to Etta James and Janis Joplin. So thank you again so much for joining us. I want to let our blues fans know why they should not miss this upcoming live stream show. So I'm going to start with you, Jan, if I may. Jan, your singing, I've listened to it, is so powerful, seemingly effortless and natural, with perfect pitch and tasty phrasing. And how did all of these extraordinary qualities combine for you?
You know, it's funny. I'm from a family that loves music. On my mother's side, her sister played piano. We always had music in the house, always sang at every, occasion. And I listened to all kinds of music. What my parents had around, at that time, they were swing generation. So I listened to all that stuff. Got into Billie Holiday, then started getting into blues. And I mean, I just loved it. Every time I listened to Billie Holiday, she just dripped emotion, and it just meant so much to me. And so many singers influenced me.
And I mean, your perfect pitch, and what really comes to mind when I see you sing is how effortless it looks. And I know it can't be, with the passion behind it. So is this something you work on? Do you think that came naturally to you? Or?
I really think, yes, you definitely have to work on what you have, always. But I think the breathing is really the most important part that I learned when I was going through different, vocal training things. Expanding that diaphragm, keeping it open the whole time while you're singing enables you to project and, come out with powerful and then to a nuanced kind of thing. You have to learn that technique too.
In the phrasing, because that's that comes from your soul probably. How do you learn how to phrase creatively?
Absolutely.
It's like I think of Little Walter and his harmonica as a man that really stretched the phrasing and made him stand out.
Yep. I learned a lot, and I'll keep going back to Billie Holiday. I mean, she was always behind the beat, but what she did, it was great. I don't mimic that, but I know that, and I use it, and I apply it when it's needed.
And she says she got that from Lester Young. So, you can keep tracing things back. Yeah. So, and then how does Steve's guitar playing support your vocal? It must be something you work at.
Steve is really good with vocalists. I think from being with a pianist all these years, you have to zone in on different things when you're a guitar player and you're playing with a piano player or a singer. I think he just knows how to not get in the way, goes out in, when he needs to, and I get amazed every time. Sometimes when we're playing together, it's an energy that we feed off of. I think I do something that he likes, and he'll try and respond to that. And we do it back and forth, and it's fun. It's fun for us.
Fun. That's great. That's great. And then how do you choose your repertoire? I noticed it's a creative repertoire, and you're not doing the same old songs you've heard thousands of times. And I was a record collector. I always liked B-sides and trying to find gems that are, you know, as good as the big hits, but you know, just not heard so much. So how do you?
Choosing songs is lots of times, I mean, it's never the same, to be honest with you. Sometimes somebody will tell me, you know, this song would be great for you, and I'll give it a listen. If it speaks to me, I want to tell the story, you know. That's what's important to me behind the songs. That's what I'm getting off track, but I am off track. Forgot the question.
How do you choose repertoire?
How do you choose your repertoire?
It has to mean something to you, you're saying.
Yeah, it does definitely have to mean something to me.
So it's believable when you sing it.
Yeah, because I want it to mean something. I don't think that if you don't mean what you're singing, anybody else is going to believe it either. But song selection can be any genre. I'm not, you know.
Right.
It always feels like no matter what genre I pick, I'm gonna sound sort of bluesy because that's just the way my voice tonally kind of fits in.
That's great. You're going to sound like Jan Fanucci.
That's right.
What's so interesting to me sometimes, and YouTube is great for this, you can pick like Trouble in Mind or something, this real standard tune, and go through the history of country and bluegrass and hear all these different artists do that same song their way, you know. And
that's what makes it so interesting.
It
is.
It's really very interesting. So watch for that, folks, when you come to the Piedmont Piano live stream show. Watch for the interplay between guitar and Jan singing. So, and then you write songs.
I do.
And then is there a?
I tried writing them with guitar, but I'm not much of a guitar player. So, but that's how I started it. Lately, I just, you know, I'd rather sing it to somebody like him who can tell me the chords instead of me struggling trying to figure out what I'm singing, you know.
And the lyrics?
The lyrics usually come first, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And you're telling a story.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So I'll remind folks that this live stream show is Thursday, June 24th at 5 p.m. You go to the Piedmont Piano's Facebook page and you'll find it. I mean, I don't have a link for you. And if you go on the Golden Gate Blues Society page, there's a lot of advertising for it. And you can go to Piedmont Piano's page. You'll find, what do they call it? The event. Find the event. And it is also going to be shown on YouTube. So Steve Freund, I spoke with you briefly on the phone the other day, and you told me as a youth you left Brooklyn for Chicago to pursue blues music as a career. And what just briefly drove that decision? That's a big deal, I think.
It was a big deal. Well, I got bit by. I mean, you know, I grew up in the inner city. There was a lot of distractions, a lot of things that I wanted to do that I really couldn't do. And, you know, I ended up playing sports a lot and got into fishing. And then right at about the age of 16, still in high school, started getting into music. And at that time, it was more of a soul music. It was James Brown and some of the doo-wop groups even, and Motown sound. And at around the age of 17, I started hanging around with some kids who were into blues. Yeah. And you know, I got turned on to blues. I actually got turned on to blues at the age of 12 a little bit. In 1964, there was a movie called The Tammy Show.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? It was
Fabulous.
It was a live movie of The Tammy Show that they held, and James Brown and the Rolling Stones were on it, and the Bar-Kays were on it.
Good memory.
And I think Etta James was on it, and they made a movie of it. And my father actually took me to the movie. You
Pretty
had
cool.
you had to be 16 to get into that movie without a guardian. So he went with me and
That's
he
odd.
sat through it. And I really got into the James Brown sound. I didn't
Mhm.
really know that it was emanating from the blues world, because I hadn't really discovered blues yet, blues, what we call blues. But I had also been into Louis Armstrong as a small child, not knowing that it was blues. I just knew it was very emotional. And so the civil rights movement got together. I had some black friends and that we played ball together, and these guys gave me on the very same day I was handed B.B. King Live at the Regal,
Oh, wow.
and at the same time by the same guy who passed on recently, Jeffrey Siegel. He gave me Live at the Regal by B.B. and John Mayall Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton. And that's a fabulous record too. And they both span the sound of the 60s basically, because Live at the Regal was, more of a modern. I call modern anything after 1960. It's modern. And so I got into that, and then I got into Canned Heat, and then I started listening to like T-Bone Walker, and a friend of my parents gave me some of these small records called Norman Granz Jazz Live at Carnegie Hall. It was a series of records. And so Duke Ellington was in there, Count Basie was in there, Louis Jordan was in there, Benny Goodman with Charlie Christian. And so all
Wow.
this came out to me in a rush. It was a huge ball of music that hit me in the spring and summer of 1969. And
Okay.
I had rented a guitar the year before. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience. Don't ever rent a guitar. The action was about 4 inches off the fingerboard. My fingers were bleeding.
Well,
I wanted to play House of the Rising Sun, and my fingers were bleeding too much to continue. And so I gave it back. And then the next year, I decided I'm going to start to try to play some blues. And I didn't have money for a guitar yet. And this is a true story. I know it sounds crazy, but we used to collect green stamps and plaid stamps. Maybe you remember that. And I saved up a booklet of plaid stamps, and I bought a little ukulele,
is that right?
a silly
Well,
little ukulele. And I sat in my bedroom and I started to pluck these very rudimentary single notes over and over and over. I had like 3 notes that I played over and over and over. And my mother finally couldn't take it one day. This is also true. And she just freaked out, and she grabbed the ukulele and she smashed it over my head. It didn't hurt because it was a cheap, little thing. But it was a very sad incident in my life. But then I decided I got to get a guitar. Blah, blah, blah. I ended up getting a guitar. I wanted to be a bass player at first, but I ended up playing guitar. And then I started going out to blues shows. I mean, my big show in 1969, I met Willie Dixon's Chicago Blues All-Stars, which was Willie Dixon on bass, Sonny Land Slim on piano, Big Walter Horton on harmonica, Johnny Shines on guitar, and Clifton James on drums. And I was just started playing guitar. I went backstage on the break, and all these old guys welcomed us young white kids and just let us hang out with them on the break. It was amazing. And Sonny Land Slim, personally, I took a liking to him because my mother was a classical pianist and he was the piano player. So we chatted, and he gave me his business card, and he said, well, when you become a good guitar player, you come out to Chicago, you look me up. So I had that in the back of my head. So for the next 7 years, I was a cab driver, and I had some day jobs, and I started to play and go out to jams. And it finally, after 7 years, I took an exploratory trip out to Chicago with my buddy. I actually went to Sonny Land Slim's gig on the south side of Chicago, unannounced, showed him his business card, and he said, I remember you from New York, blah, blah, blah. Come on and sit in with me. All of a sudden, I'm playing now, and Hubert Sumlin was the guitar player. And Hubert Sumlin let me play, and they treated me like I was some kind of royalty. I was nothing. I was a nobody off the street. And they let me play and they inspired me to continue on. But my real epiphany had occurred in New York a few years before. I went to an Albert King show at the Fillmore East, and I closed my eyes while he was playing, and his guitar sounded like a woman's voice was talking back to him. Because the music we do, as Jan mentioned, it's based on call and response. And this music started in the fields of slaves when they had two groups of slaves they would sing a chorus and the other group would answer. It's called call and response. And the blues is based on call and response. And B.B. King, for instance, he'll sing a line with his vocals, and he answers it with his guitar, and it's perfect answer. And Albert King played the same thing, the same way, same method. And when I heard Albert King play, it really sounded like a woman's voice, like maybe his mother was talking to him. And it was very emotional. And I decided at that moment, and I probably was about 20, 21 years old, I decided at that moment in my mind that I was going to be a professional blues guitar player.
Yeah, this is just amazing. You hear that,
Yeah.
folks? I mean, the passion. I hear this from a lot of musicians. There is a moment. They know that that's what they want to do the rest of their life.
Yeah, that's my story.
And Albert King would be one of the guys that can do that.
Yeah, because his guitar playing style was very simple. And when we're talking right now, we're talking very simply. We're not talking very fast. A lot of guys play fast. And the relationship of playing fast all the time, to me, it would be like as if we were speaking gibberish, just like blah, 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 not making any sense. And that's the beauty of the blues to me, is you can actually, it's like a dialect. It's a dialect of English in my mind, if it's played at a normal rate to match the singing. If that makes any sense.
Oh, it sure makes sense. People's verse is the same way. You hear the young women from the valley in Southern California just trying to cram in as many words as, and you'll hear an old gentleman from the South will say the same thing in 3 words, very slowly.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And what has more impact to you? The lesser does to me. That's great answer. Thank you. So how did things develop after you arrived in Chicago? And then I have another question that kind of fits right into it, is that Chicago blues has a unique sound. You know, it is a big, huge genre. But there are variations through the different neighborhoods. And I wondered, you know, as you came out and developed, how did this also, how do you adjust your gear and your techniques to the west side, the south side?
Nowadays, Chicago is more, it's almost blues rock. It's not like when I got there or why I went after it. Anyway, there's several levels of Chicago blues. And to me, it started, if you go historically, with like the guys from New Orleans going up the river to Chicago, and they brought their music there. And that was part of a migration of African Americans who had moved from the South to the North because it was a better life. It was less Jim Crow and a lot of jobs.
Right.
In Chicago, of course, you had the meat industry, which was huge, and you had the steel mills, which were close by by Indiana, which is like a half-hour drive.
Okay.
So there's lots of industries opened up, and so lots of people came from the South. Most of Chicago, the Black community, half of the Black community seems to be from the deep South, and the other half were probably younger guys who were born there. So to me, the music that what we would call Chicago blues, like the harmonica, like the Muddy Waters and the Little Walter, and even Big Bill Brunsey to an extent, it's what Muddy played. To me, it's electric country blues. It's electrified country blues. You played the same thing on an acoustic guitar, except you couldn't be heard over the drums and over the noise of the crowds in the little bars. So they came up with the amplifiers were invented and the guys bought amps. Then the basses became electric Fender basses. Then electric pianos came out. Then the harp players started to get a little mic and cup the harp in their hands and so everything got louder. But deep down, it's just electric, it's just country blues that they played in Mississippi. And so that was that. And when I got there, there was a lot of that. I mean, Buddy Guy was playing the low down blues. Junior Wells was playing every night. James Cotton was still playing the low down blues. And then you had Johnny Littlejohn and Sunnyland Slim. And I played with so many of these guys, Big Walter, Floyd Jones, Eddie Taylor, John Brim. They were all there. They were all there. If you can imagine going to a bar by Wrigley Field or by the Giant Stadium and going to a bar and sitting down, and all of a sudden Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb and Lou Gehrig are sitting next to you drinking beer with you. That's what it was. It was like mingling with royalty. At that time, I think I caught the very last of the golden age. I could go and see Little Brother Montgomery play or Blind John Davis play for free almost any night of the week. But they don't have that anymore. All the old, great, legendary, traditional Chicago blues artists are pretty much gone. I think Buddy is the last one, possibly. There's a couple others, like Jimmy Johnson's still there, Jimmy Burns.
Yes,
but for the most part, it's changed.
But then there's folks like you that paid attention and stayed there long enough to learn what they knew and passed it on to you. So, you know, you extend as they go, your status rises.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not the first generation to do that. I'm the second generation of white guys to do that. If you take like Charlie Musselwhite and Butterfield,
right,
and Mike Bloomfield and Elvin Bishop, those guys they're older than me by 10 years or so. So it's a different generation.
10 years, okay.
Yeah. So they did it, and then I did it, and you know, I wouldn't put myself in their category as an artist, but I don't think anybody loves blues more than I do. I'll tell you that. I might not be the greatest artist, but I love the blues more than I just love it, and that can't be taken away.
Yeah, well, it's impossible to miss the passion that you have for it. It's really great to hear. So what are you planning to do on stage for our production at Piedmont Piano?
Well, we have a 75-minute program, and basically that breaks down to about 15 or 16 songs. So we've got an excellent rhythm section. These are Jan's, this is Jan's A-team, and it's Paul Ravelli on drums and Tim Wagar on bass and myself and Jan. I figure I'll do about 5 songs, and then we'll bring Jan up to do about 10 songs. And that should be, and I'll be doing more of the traditional real, like what we talked about, the Chicago stuff, which is basically, just I don't really do the songs that everybody else does, but along those styles of shuffles and maybe a jump number and a low down tune, the Willie Dixon style tune. And then Jan will come up and we have an assortment of blues and soul music.
Yeah, we're trying to give an example of this different styles that we do and do well, I think.
Yeah, because at the same time, the guys in Chicago were making the chess records and that genre, which would be the mid 50s to the mid 60s. In New Orleans, they were doing stuff too, but a little different, more different rhythm changes. And you had just like, and and you had the California sound even in LA, because you had Etta James was already out here. Johnny Guitar Watson was out here. T-Bone was out here.
Pee Wee Creighton.
Pee Wee, I love Pee Wee Creighton.
Yeah,
In fact, I live in Vallejo.
You want the sound of Central Avenue. He lived it. T-Bone would come out from Texas, but Creighton was there. And that man. And Clarence Gatemouth Brown, but they use the LA studios, Bahari Brothers, and they're different genres.
Yeah, just a piece of trivia.
Because of the studios.
Pee Wee ended up in Vallejo, California, and that's where my house is. I'm in Vallejo too, so I'm kind of following
Well-
Pee Wee Creighton around.
Yeah, I mean, Vallejo, Richmond is really the blues centers of Northern California. Oakland had recording studios, but it was really more jazzy. What I'm hearing from the historians is that, and I forget the name of the street, the Minnie's and the Savoy and Richmond. And the population in Vallejo now, there's Alvon lives there. It's just full of blues musicians from 80 to down to 20 years old. That, and a lot of rappers there as well. But that's a really musically rich town. Those shipyards, huh?
Oh, I think the whole Bay Area is pretty musically rich.
Yeah, the Bay Area all the way to San Jose is insanely gifted.
I think more than Chicago now or Kansas City. Memphis has got the Rehab Beale Street and the museum there and the foundation and everything. And then they have so many activities, but
Yeah,
that's just 2 blocks. You know, we have from San Jose to Sonoma County to Sacramento, and you know, Kyle Rowland in Sacramento, and we have Kid Anderson down in the south, and Aki Kumar. We have the acoustic guys that play in Santa Cruz. Then there's some of them up in Sonoma. They will drive from Sonoma County down to Santa Cruz for their $50 gig at the with the
a long
bar.
drive, I know.
Yeah, but that's the dedication. They're not going to let it die. They just love it. Hey, I want to remind folks to on Thursday, June 24th, take your time and go to Piedmont Piano's Facebook page or YouTube page. This is a live stream. It'll be in the vaults later, but I think the sound quality and the excitement of watching that live show is paramount. And I
It'll
will
be
be
fun.
there. I'll be, me and the bass player's girlfriend, I think, are the only 2 in the audience.
well,
I'm
don't forget,
looking
like
forward
we
to seeing
said
you
on
too.
the phone, it might change by that date, so we could
Yeah,
find
we're
out.
supposed to open up the 15th. So, and I was
Yeah.
gonna give Jim Callahan is the man
Yeah.
there at Piedmont Piano. And I gotta put in a pitch for this man. Has been offering as a free service to hundreds of acts have gone through there since COVID started. This guy is a hero.
Yes.
So, and we
Yeah.
want to do a fundraiser when they open up to public again. We're gonna do a fundraiser to try to get him some money for all that he's done, and just let him know how important he is, and how much we appreciate his effort there. It's
Absolutely.
anyone want to buy a piano, you look up
Yeah.
Jim Callahan at Piedmont Piano. Well, thank you too very,
Okay.
very much for
All
your
right,
appearance here.
thanks.
We'll
All right,
see you on the
Richard.
24th.
See you
Yep.
then.
We'll see you then.
Stay in
All
touch
righty.
until then. Okay,
Thanks, folks.
bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.